There is a gentleness in you that the world has never known what to do with. A softness that carries wisdom. A patience that holds back something ancient. People feel safe around you, though they don't understand why. They open their hearts without knowing what made them trust you. And yet beneath that calm exterior there is something untouchable, something holy, a fire that watches, waits, decides. You were not made for war, but you carry the memory of battle in your bones. You were not made to harm, yet you've been given a sword of truth that slices through shadows. You've been quiet when falsely accused, compassionate in the face of cruelty, and still, something in you knows the truth. That niceness is not your nature. It is your discipline. That silence is not your limit. It is your authority. There comes a point when the one who holds back the storm must become the storm. Not out of anger, but because truth has been violated for too long. And when that moment comes, it is not you who speaks, it is the divine through you. What you are about to hear is not for the faint of heart. It is for those who have been mistaken, misused, underestimated. It is for the chosen ones, the ones who carry both the bomb and the blaze. And now we begin. Their light heals but also exposes. There is a light that lives in the chosen ones that does not come from this world. It does not flicker with mood or dim under pressure. It is steady, unearned, and unnerving. When they walk into a room, something shifts. A weight lifts. A clarity arrives. People feel comforted, but they don't know why. Smiles deepen, masks loosen, the soul breathes. That is the healing presence of the chosen. It is not something they do, it is something they are. But that same light that heals also reveals. The peace they carry pulls hidden pain to the surface. The love they radiate makes selfishness uncomfortable. The truth in their silence calls out the lies in others. It is not their words that uncover things. It is their being. Their presence functions like fire. Gentle enough to warm the broken, yet hot enough to scorch pretense and illusion. The wounded are drawn to them, but so are the pretending, and the pretending cannot survive. People begin to notice strange things in their presence. Secrets feel heavier, manipulation backfires, masks crack, and for many that discomfort becomes too much to bear. They turn, they lash out, they retreat. Not because the chosen one harmed them, but because the chosen one held up a mirror. And mirrors do not lie. This is why their kindness is often misread. People think they are soft, but softness is not the absence of power. It is the refusal to misuse it. And when that light is provoked, when it turns inward to cleanse, and outward to confront the fire that once healed begins to burn. Not to destroy, but to purify, not to punish, but to awaken. And in that awakening, the next layer of mystery begins to unfold. Their patience is not weakness. It's prophetic timing. There is a kind of patience the world misunderstands. It is not passive. It is not timid. It is not the patience of someone afraid to speak. It is the patience of someone who hears a rhythm no one else hears. The patience of a soul aligned with divine timing. That is the patience of the chosen ones. They do not rush to correct. They do not fight to be right. They do not interrupt chaos with noise. They wait, they watch, they let people reveal themselves. Not because they are unaware, but because they are deeply aware. Aware of what is seen and what is hidden. Aware of when grace is still working and when the window of mercy is about to close. They endure things that would break others, not because they lack strength, but because they carry too much of it to waste on things unworthy of their roar. When someone lies to them, they see it. When someone betrays them, they feel it. But instead of reacting, they allow time to do the revealing. They know that time is the servant of truth. And when the truth is ready, it always arrives. But that patience is not endless. There is a holy limit. A threshold that once crossed unleashes the storm that was being held back by mercy. And when that moment comes, it is not emotional. It is prophetic. It is not payback. It is alignment. The silence breaks. The stillness becomes fire. And those who once thought the chosen one was indifferent realize they were simply being given time to repent. This is the danger of mistaking divine restraint for weakness. What looks like stillness is often the gathering of storm, and what comes next no one sees coming. They forgive much until mercy ends. Chosen ones carry an ocean of mercy inside them, a depth of grace that flows from a place beyond personality, beyond emotion. It is not theirs, it is borrowed from the heart of God. That is why they forgive what others cannot. They absorb pain. They extend kindness after betrayal. They pray for those who curse them, not because they are naive, but because they are assigned to love in a way that reflects heaven, not earth. But mercy is not the absence of boundaries. Mercy is holy, and like all holy things, it is protected. When someone continues to wound a chosen one to twist their forgiveness into a weapon to mock the sacred, by repeating the same harm, the mercy begins to close like a veil torn from the temple. Quietly, severely, finally. They may not announce the shift, but it happens. A door closes in the spirit, a covering is lifted, and the one who was once shielded by the chosen one's intercession is now standing alone, exposed to the consequences of their own sowing. Not because the chosen one wanted revenge, but because mercy withheld becomes justice released. This is not human judgment, it is divine order, and when it moves it cannot be stopped. Those who misused the grace often cry out as victims, but heaven has already recorded the truth. The patience was documented, the prayers were counted, the warnings were ignored, and now the season has shifted. To be forgiven by a chosen one is a gift. To be released by one is a reckoning. And that reckoning leads us to a deeper silence where words are no longer needed, only presence, only the weight of what has been awakened. Their silence is louder than most people's rage. When a chosen one goes quiet, the silence is not empty, it is full of knowing, full of weight, full of things too sacred to speak. Their silence is not retreat, it is a signal, a shift, a trembling in the unseen. They do not raise their voice to prove themselves. They do not beg to be understood. Instead, they withdraw like the tide pulling back before the wave. And those who mocked their gentleness begin to feel the air change. Something sacred is leaving. Something invisible is lifting. And suddenly, everything feels wrong. The chosen one's absence becomes louder than any argument, louder than any defense, because their silence makes space for heaven to speak, and heaven does not speak softly when justice is overdue. This is why their silence is feared by those who once depended on their peace. Because when a chosen one walks away, the grace that held things together walks with them. And what is left behind is not just emptiness, it is exposure. The illusion collapses. The truth rises. And the soul must now face what the chosen one had been covering. Their silence is not the absence of care. It is the final act of love, a divine pause that allows the consequence to enter. They fight differently, with truth not ego. Chosen ones do not war like the world does. Their battles are not for attention, their weapons are not of pride. They fight with truth. And truth is not loud, it is surgical, piercing, final. They see through the lie not just in others but in themselves. And because they have been refined by fire, they no longer fear it. They carry truth like a blade and wield it with mercy. Not to destroy but to divide, to separate what is real from what is false, what is holy from what is hollow. When they finally speak, their words feel like prophecy. not because they predict the future, but because they reveal the present with such clarity that nothing can hide. They do not aim to win, they aim to unveil. And in that unveiling, the ego collapses, the mask falls, the soul is laid bare. Those who hear it will either awaken or recoil. There is no in-between, because when a chosen one fights, it is not about dominance, it is about alignment. They are not reacting, they are restoring. And that restoration leads not into noise, but into the invisible currents they carry, the spiritual weight that moves rooms before they say a word. Their presence changes the atmosphere, even when unsettled. There are people who enter a room and go unnoticed, and then there are the chosen. They don't need to speak, they don't need to move. Their very presence carries a spiritual current that shifts the atmosphere. Peace follows them like a fragrance. Clarity walks beside them. And when they are aligned, the entire room breathes easier. It is not charisma, it is not charm, it is the residue of heaven on a soul that has been with God. People feel safe without knowing why. Conversations soften, tension dissolves. The spiritual static in the room clears, because the chosen one brings divine order simply by showing up in their true energy. But when their spirit is disturbed, when their peace has been wounded, the atmosphere does not stay the same. The warmth becomes a warning. The calm becomes weight. The air thickens with unspoken truth. And suddenly, those who once drew close now feel the urge to retreat. It is not because the chosen one is angry. It is because the spiritual equilibrium has been shaken. The disturbance in them echoes into the environment, not as chaos but as conviction. People begin to fumble their words. Darkness feels exposed. Hidden things start to surface, and the atmosphere grows heavy with what has not yet been confessed. This is the spiritual signature of the chosen. They do not just shift emotion. They shift vibration. They shift alignment. They carry the presence of something holy, and when it is unsettled, the environment trembles under the weight of that holiness. What was once a sanctuary becomes a threshing floor, and those who remain must decide, will they run, or will they face the truth that just walked into the room, wearing silence as its armor? They protect others, but guard themselves with fire. Chosen ones are guardians by design. They are drawn to the hurting, the overlooked, the vulnerable. Their spirit moves toward the cry no one else hears. They defend without needing recognition. They cover without demanding thanks. It is instinct, not effort. Calling, not charity. They are the unseen shield between the innocent and the storm. But what most people forget is this: the same fire that protects others also protects the chosen one themselves. Their peace is sacred. Their energy is not open pasture. It is consecrated ground. And when someone crosses that line, when manipulation, dishonor, or spiritual pollution enters their inner sanctuary, the protector turns inward. They do not shout, they do not plead, they simply leave. And when they do, it is final. Not because they are bitter, but because preservation is a commandment for the called. They understand that the soul cannot bleed endlessly for others and still fulfill its assignment. So they cut ties, not in hatred, but in holiness. This is what many do not understand. Their kindness is not permission. Their love is not self-erasure. They will carry you when you are weak, but they will not carry what is destroying them. They will hold space for your healing, but they will not allow your chaos to invade their temple. They walk away without noise because the Spirit has already made the decision. And when they walk, they take with them the covering you never knew they provided. Their departure is not a reaction. It is a divine recalibration. And with that recalibration, the fire in them does not burn out. It gathers, it prepares, it waits for the next assignment. Because protection is not something they turn off. It is who they are. But to protect the sacred, they must first protect themselves. Their judgment is not revenge. It's heaven's response. When the chosen one finally acts, when the fire that has been restrained is released, it is not born of pride. It is not vengeance. It is the voice of heaven answering injustice through flesh and bone. People often mistake their eruption as personal retaliation, but it is not rage, it is response. Not theirs alone, but divine. For a long time they stay silent, they carry the weight, they intercede instead of accuse, they offer space instead of shame. But when the line is crossed, when the desecration of their spirit becomes too much, something ancient stirs within them. A judgment not rooted in ego, but in sacred clarity. And when they speak, the words are not theirs. They are sharpened by truth. They do not shout, they declare. Their voice cuts through deception like a sword in a sleeping camp. Every hidden motive, every twisted intention, every lie cloaked in charm is brought into the open. Not to humiliate, but to reveal, not to wound, but to wake. The chosen one becomes a mirror that no one can look away from. Their presence now functions like a reckoning, and those who hear it feel the weight of what they've done, not just to the chosen one, but to the divine order that sent them. This is why the pain of provoking a chosen one lasts so long, because the consequences are not emotional fallout. They are spiritual justice, and that justice does not miss its mark. When the final silence falls, when the fire settles into ash, what remains is not anger. It is alignment. The soul has spoken. Heaven has answered. And the room, the relationship, the reality will never be the same. There is a moment in every chosen one's life when they begin to understand that their pain was not pointless, that their silence was not weakness, that the fire they carry was never meant to destroy, but to refine. You were not made for the approval of the crowd. You were crafted for the alignment of the heavens. And everything you've endured, everything you've held back, every storm you've survived in stillness was part of that sacred preparation. You were not just called to be kind, you were called to be dangerous in holiness, dangerous to darkness, dangerous to illusion, dangerous to anything that dares to touch what God has consecrated. And if you've ever felt the shift inside that moment when your peace turned sharp, when your mercy reached its end, when your presence began to expose things no one else could see, know this. You are not broken. You are not overreacting. You are remembering who you are. This world teaches you to tame your spirit, to shrink your light, to apologize for seeing too much feeling, too deeply knowing without explanation. But heaven never asked you to apologize. Heaven asked you to protect it, to carry it, to honor the assignment even when it costs you everything. And now that assignment is waking up again. If this message stirred something deep in your spirit, it is because it was meant to. This was not information, it was confirmation, a sacred reminder of the power you've been carrying all along. And if you are ready to continue walking that path with courage, clarity, and reverence, then walk with us. Subscribe to this channel for more soul-born truths. Share this video with those who need to be reminded of the lion within. And if you feel led, share your story in the comments. What has your journey as a chosen one looked like? What have you learned? What has awakened? Your voice may be the confirmation someone else is praying for. You are not alone. You were never forgotten. And the fire in you was never too much. It was holy from the beginning. Let it burn with purpose. Let it speak when silence no longer serves. And let it carry you forward into the life only the chosen are called to live. Walk gently. Walk fiercely. Walk anointed.